Brookwood Lego League, it's a program that we started here 2 years ago. It's a STEM program that involves robotics for children, which there's a robotics competition. The students get to design and program their own robot with a kit of a lot of pieces, including motors and sensors, and then there's a computer program that they have to use to program it to do what they want it to do. They have to solve a real-world problem that's in connection with the theme for the year. So this past year's theme was Trash Trek, and so they had to identify a real-world problem in the world of trash and then come up with an innovative solution to solve that problem, and they could take off with it. They had to research and they had to design a prototype, and when they went to the competition, they have to show the judges, they have to demonstrate and present all of their ideas, as well as present their robot and compete their robot against other teams across the region. When we first started this, we decided that we wanted to save a few spots for students on an IEP or a 504 if they had some kind of a disability, to provide them opportunities to interact with students maybe they don't have the opportunity to meet typically during the week. So we have 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. We have kids that are in the gifted program. We've had hearing impaired students, learning disabled students, and they interact and they're engaging and making new friends. And honestly, you can see their confidence really building as they're learning something that's sort of outside the realm of school, typically, and they find out they're good at it. We have 2 teams, so each team meets 2 times per week from 3:30 to 5. It runs from really the first week of school until December when they go to a competition. We decided to have extra programming just for fun, and so we had 3 different groups. We had advanced programming, intermediate, and now we've started 3rd graders to see if they're interested in it next year, and they've moved up and they're doing beginner programming. I'd like to thank the Wilks family and the Hamilton Community Foundation for the grant that provided us the opportunity to have a second Lego League team at Brookwood Elementary this year.
My grant title is the Adaptive Skills Learning Cohort. The main goal is that students are learning to be ready for life after high school with all of the adaptive and social skills that they need, from learning to actually cook and have guests over and have manners and social skills and social interactions, to actually preparing the food to be independent and living on their own. Students have learned a variety of things. They first and foremost learn kitchen safety and how to use knives appropriately, how to be careful around a burner, how to be careful when you're working with different ingredients and temperatures for cooking. And then that translates into all the cross curriculars. So we talk about measurement with math. We talk about elapsed time. How long does it take to cook something? Going into even their reading class and knowing how to read a recipe. Cooking is something that they all have mentioned that they really enjoyed but wanted to learn more about. In addition, it's just a good transition skill that these students will need to be truly independent, which is a lot of their goals. They all want to be independent when they leave high school.
I actually cook at home now. When Miss Rocky first did a cooking class, we did a recipe of the dipping sauce for the Super Bowl, and I actually cooked that for the Super Bowl.
Receiving this grant has been a true blessing in my life and in the life of my students. It's really encouraged me as a teacher to grow. The Harry T. Wilks grant basically funded the entire thing. As a second-year teacher, I didn't have much supply-wise, so they were able to help me purchase all of the equipment in the room, such as the mini fridge to store food in, the microwave to cook with, all of the mixing bowls, anything we cook with, all of the ingredients. And I even have a few mini laptops where they've done some research on.
Thank you, Hamilton Community Foundation.
The Harry T. Wilks grant helped fund a purchase of 4 tilt-top tables, and we'd like to, continue that in the future. This was good that we started out small so we could see, how the students, if they would use them to maximize, and the space. They're a little bit larger, so we needed to consider the space too, but they seem to be working out really, really well. Students come in after school to use them, so it's been very helpful, and it's not extra funding we had in our budget. Well, the tilt-top tables kind of act like an easel, so they can either use it flat if we're doing like more of a sculptural project or a 3-dimensional project, or they can use them to bring their projects more to eye level. If they're drawing directly from a still life we might have set up in the room, and in more advanced classes if we're drawing from a live model. They can look at the model so it doesn't break up their line of vision. So, looking down, once you look down and you look up, you lose some perspective immediately. So this keeps that line of vision right in their way. It's a little more user-friendly, I think. And these have the tray on them, so if they're doing a canvas or more of a thicker surface like a board or something, they can line it up, and they can also use the T-squares on the edge of the tables as well, which is nice. These are really nice if you compare the two tables. These are a lot larger too, so it gives them a little more workspace.
Well, they were a lot higher up, so it helped with the perception, and they're a lot easier to work on because of the ledge that they have, so not everything's going everywhere, so a lot more organization.
I think the kids are more excited to use them because it is more of a professional type desk. It doesn't look like a traditional art room table. It is a professional desk. It encourages them to explore other materials. I received a Harry T. Wilks grant many years ago when I was teaching at St. Julie Billiart, and we did Art from the Heart, where we created artwork for everyday heroes like firemen, teachers. So I'm a big fan of the Community Foundation. The Harry Wilks funding has really helped us. We're very pleased and we thank you very much.
The H2O water quality study was part of our curriculum, and it was there to showcase, first of all, Hamilton's water. One of the things that's great about Hamilton is we have a river running right through the center of town, and it really is the centerpiece of our city. And so I really wanted to make sure that the kids understood how important that water source was and how to keep it clean, be good stewards of that water. In addition, they got to see our world quality water being made and tested in action. So we actually went to the water treatment plant and got to see how they finish up making our water the best water in the world. The Harry T. Wilks grant paid for the field trip to the water treatment facility, and it also paid for water quality testing equipment. So we did not, for this level, and it's not a chemistry class, it's an environmental science class. For this level of class, there hadn't been any dedicated resources to being able to do water quality studies. So the grant paid for and will continue to pay for future years where we can do this part of the curriculum in a very authentic way. So the equipment that was purchased using the Harry T. Wilks grant can be reused as part of the water quality curriculum going forward for at least the next 5 years. I really think the purpose of this class in general was to make sure that students are aware of their environmental impact. So absolutely, I know that there were some eye-opening places within the curriculum where they're going to have to really think about the consequences of their actions going forward, not just with water quality, which is a very important part of Hamilton City, but also in the bigger picture. I'm just so appreciative of all the financial support that Harry T. Wilks gives to the community, and I really am so grateful, and I know my students are grateful for the opportunity to be able to use this money for their own learning.
A Spiro is a robotic ball that can do many things. Students code this to do STEM activities.
It's this robotic ball that you can program or control it.
Thanks to the Wilks grant, we were able to purchase 5 Spiros. We were able to create a Spiro club.
We did some really cool things with Spiro. We painted in bold, and most of all, we tried to help with hearing impaired students. We had to interview hearing impaired or deaf students, research the needs of those students and the types of technology already being used.
An after-school program was created, and it was divided into two different parts, core and STEM. Core is a series of lessons designed to help students build their coding, robotic, and math skills.
It was pretty awesome because you usually don't program or like with art. You usually program with robots.
A lot of the STEM activities that we did are classic STEM activities, such as building a contraption to carry pennies across water.
Spiro is so heavy, it's hard to get materials that float.
And it would push all the stuff down to where the pennies would usually fall out into the water.
And we also did a bridge building activity in second grade. Their bridge had to carry a Spiro across it.
You have to build a bridge for a Spiro to cross without the bridge collapsing with the material selected. It was really hard to program Spiro when there were so many buttons to press and you were so curious.
The chariot challenge was very challenging, and the math was hard too. On the maze part, we had to drive the chariot in and out of cones and make it land perfectly on a dot. We love Spiro! Thank you, Hamilton Community Foundation.
One thing that I noticed in my classroom that I needed to be able to create literacy stations, and I needed technology to do that. So we are fortunate enough to have Chrome carts, but I can't always have access to them. So I wanted to make sure that I could have Chromebooks in my room at all times. So when I wrote the grant, I wrote it so that I could have 4 Chromebooks along with cordless headphones. And that way I can have different stations going on in my room at the same time. Some kids will go off on their own with a Chromebook and listen to a story. They might be on a different chapter, depending where they are. But I've noticed just managing my groups in my classroom, it's a lot calmer, and I think they enjoy it because they're taking a handle of their own learning. They're in charge of their learning. So it helped them grow as learners, I think.
One time, Miss Sarah said that we could all get a book at the beginning of the year, and it was a Percy Jackson book. And then I decided that I really liked it, and I was about 3/4 through, and I go out and buy all the books. That's what got me into reading.
I feel like it gave me the opportunity to have great resources in my classroom that I wouldn't otherwise be able to afford. The kids enjoy it, and they've even asked me next year if they're going to be able to take the stuff with them, and I'm like, no, it stays here. So
on the Chromebooks, like Storyline Online or Storia, you can search books that you really want to read, and you can usually have a lot more books on the computer than a regular library can.
I just want to thank them for allowing me to bring this to my classroom. My kids don't get the opportunity to have access to this kind of stuff at home. And sometimes in a classroom, you know, it's hard. It costs a lot of money. And it just, by them doing this and allowing us to have this stuff, the kids got to explore different things. We've had access all year to the Chromebooks and online. As the year's gone on, I feel like all of my kids are reading. This has allowed me to do that.
Well, I decided to do this project because I was spending a lot of my own money to do fabulous lessons with food. And when I mapped this out, I had lessons for the entire year covering all the different subject areas. And this money that we are so grateful for has afforded us the opportunity to do more lessons than I could have ever dreamed in all the subject areas, and it has been completely awesome.
We found through using food that it makes the lessons more concrete, and it keeps the kids more engaged because they're able to use the food as manipulatives. The Skittles project is kind of ongoing, but at different levels depending on where we are in the year. So the Skittles become a visual when we walk around to see that the students are putting their thought into a sentence. We can put the Skittle down to be the punctuation.
The sorting, you can sort and make bar graphs with the stuff.
You got to pick a Hershey Kiss. Then you write it on a piece of paper and you looked all over to see like period.
Anytime you have food, everything's better. And the students completely agree.
You learn how to do science and math and other stuff like that.
We've also used it for an author study to connect books and food that reminds us of the books.
My favorite was the Seuss snacks. We talk about Dr. Seuss and the book series, and then our teacher gives us something like part of the Lorax or One Fish, Two Fish.